Once upon a time, in a kingdom nestled between silver mountains and deep green forests, there lived a queen who longed for a child. On a frosty winter morning, as snowflakes drifted gently against the palace window, the queen sat stitching by an ebony-framed window. As she pricked her finger with the needle, 3 drops of blood fell onto the snow outside. The sight struck her heart with wonder. She whispered softly, "If only I could have a daughter, with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony wood." Not long after, her wish was granted. The queen gave birth to a baby girl, beautiful beyond words, and named her Snow White. But happiness is often fleeting. The queen grew ill and passed away. The king, in his sorrow, remarried a woman of breathtaking beauty, but a heart darker than the deepest cave. This new queen was proud, cruel, and obsessed with only one thing, being the fairest in all the land. In her chambers, she kept a magical mirror. Every day, she would stand before it and ask, "Mirror, mirror, on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And each day, the mirror replied, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." For years, the queen's vanity was satisfied. But as Snow White grew older, her beauty blossomed. Her innocence, kindness, and gentle nature made her shine brighter than any crown. People admired her not only for her looks but for her heart. And soon, the day came when the queen stood before her mirror and asked her question. The mirror answered, "You, my queen, are fair, it is true. But Snow White is fairer than you." The queen's heart turned to ice. Jealousy burned inside her. How dare a child outshine her? Her pride, her very identity, felt threatened. That night, she hatched a plan so wicked it chilled even the shadows of the palace. She summoned the royal huntsman. With eyes cold as steel, she ordered, "Take the girl into the forest. End her life, and bring me her heart as proof." The huntsman trembled. He had hunted beasts, but never a child. Still, fearing the queen's wrath, he led Snow White deep into the forest. As they walked, Snow White looked up at him with her big, trusting eyes. "Why do we walk so far, sir?" she asked. The huntsman faltered. He raised his knife but could not bring himself to harm her. His heart broke at the thought of killing such innocence. Dropping the weapon, he fell to his knees. "Run, child, run far into the forest and never return to the palace. The queen wishes you dead." Terrified, Snow White fled into the forest. The trees loomed high, their branches like claws. Owls hooted, wolves howled, and every shadow seemed alive. She stumbled over roots, scraped her hands, and wept bitterly. Yet, even in her fear, she pressed on, guided by a tiny spark of hope. At last, dawn's golden light broke through the branches. Snow White found herself in a quiet clearing where a little cottage stood. Curious, she stepped inside. The cottage was tidy but clearly lived in by people who were unusually small. On the table were 7 plates, 7 mugs, and 7 tiny chairs. Upstairs, 7 little beds stood in a row. Exhausted, Snow White lay down across them and soon drifted into sleep. That evening, the owners of the cottage returned. They were 7 dwarfs who worked hard in the mountains, mining gems and precious stones. When they entered, they noticed the dishes disturbed, the chairs moved, and someone sleeping across their beds. "Who's this?" whispered one. "She's beautiful," murmured another. Snow White awoke with a start. Seeing the dwarfs, she gasped, but their kind faces calmed her. She explained her plight, how the queen wanted her dead. The dwarfs listened carefully, their brows furrowed with concern. At last, their leader said, "Stay here with us, dear child. Keep our home, and you will be safe. But beware, your stepmother is cunning. Do not open the door to strangers." Grateful beyond words, Snow White agreed. For a time, peace returned. Snow White cooked, cleaned, sang songs, and filled the cottage with warmth. The dwarfs adored her. She became their sister, their family. Her kindness softened even the hardest of their hearts. But far away in the palace, the queen once again turned to her mirror. "Mirror, mirror, on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror replied, "You, my queen, are fair, it is true. But Snow White, beyond the mountains, with the 7 dwarfs, is still fairer than you." The queen's rage knew no bounds. How dare the huntsman deceive her? Her pride wounded, she vowed to destroy Snow White herself. Disguising herself as an old peddler woman, she set out with a ribboned bodice. She knocked on the dwarf's cottage door, calling sweetly, "Pretty laces for a pretty girl. Won't you let me in?" Snow White, unsuspecting, welcomed her. The woman tied the laces so tightly around Snow White's waist that she collapsed, breathless. The queen fled, certain her rival was dead. But when the dwarfs returned, they found Snow White lifeless. Horrified, they cut the laces loose, and breath returned to her. She gasped awake, tears streaming down her cheeks. The dwarfs warned her sternly, never open the door to anyone. Snow White promised. Yet, the queen was relentless. The very next day, disguised again, she brought a poisoned comb. She brushed it into Snow White's hair, and the girl collapsed once more. Again, the dwarfs saved her. Furious, the queen crafted her most dangerous weapon, a poisoned apple, red as blood, sweet as temptation. She disguised herself as a harmless farmer's wife and offered it to Snow White. Such a beautiful apple, Snow White murmured. Half for you, half for me, the old woman said slyly, biting the safe side. Seeing no danger, Snow White took a bite. Instantly, she fell to the floor, motionless. This time, no lace or comb could revive her. The dwarfs wept bitterly. Believing her truly gone, they placed her in a glass coffin. Her beauty remained untouched, her skin still as white as snow, her lips still red as blood, and her hair black as ebony. Birds sang mournful songs, and the forest seemed to grieve with them. Days turned to weeks, weeks into months. The dwarfs kept watch over her, unable to let go. One day, a prince passing through the forest saw the coffin. Struck by her beauty and sorrowful fate, he begged the dwarfs, please, allow me to take her to my castle. I cannot bear to see her left here in the wilderness. The dwarfs hesitated but, moved by his sincerity, agreed. As the prince's men carried the coffin, they stumbled on a root. The jolt dislodged the piece of poisoned apple from Snow White's throat. Suddenly, her chest rose with breath. Her eyes fluttered open. The dwarfs gasped. The prince fell to his knees, overcome with joy. Snow White blinked, confused, then smiled. Where am I? What has happened? You are safe now, the prince whispered. The darkness has passed. When news reached the queen, she stormed to her mirror once more. Mirror, mirror, on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all? The mirror answered. You, my queen, are fair, it is true. But Snow White, alive and free, is fairer still, and loved more than you. Her fury consumed her, and she could not bear the truth. Some say her heart turned to stone that very moment. Others whisper she vanished into her own shadows, never to be seen again. Snow White, however, found a new beginning. She thanked the dwarfs, who blessed her with love and protection, and left with the prince to a future filled with hope. And so, from the heart of darkness, light emerged once more, proof that even when jealousy seeks to destroy, kindness and truth will always endure.